Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I rise to present my ministerial statement on the meningococcal disease and the need for the House to be made more aware of the steps taken by the Ministry to move forward. Madam Speaker, meningococcal disease, if I may say, is found worldwide and results in sporadic cases and outbreaks. There are an estimated 1.2 million cases annually worldwide, with deaths of around 135,000 people. The highest incidence occurs in the meningitis belt of the sub-Saharan Africa, which includes 26 countries stretching from Ethiopia in the east to Senegal in the west. These countries, Madam Speaker, have frequent outbreaks in the dry season, mostly December to June, with incidence that can be high as 1,000 cases per 100,000 population. This is compared to the rest of the world, where incidence is between 0.3 to 3 cases per 100,000 per year. The World Health Organization, Madam Speaker, reports that meningitis belt reports up to 30,000 cases of meningococcal diseases every year. Madam Speaker, closer to home, New Zealand had an outbreak of meningococcal disease over about a 10-year period in the 1990s and early 2000. Case numbers went up from 53 in 1990 to 650 in 2001. The highest rates of illness were the Pacific Islanders. Madam Speaker, a vaccine against the meningococcal B strain causing the outbreak was introduced in 2004, and the incidence decreased to 2.6 per 100,000 population in 2007. Australia similarly had an increase in meningococcal disease from 1997 to 2002, with notification going around 300 cases in 1996 to approximately 700 cases in 2002. This increase was driven by meningococcal C strain, and in 2003, the Australian government introduced a vaccination program for the meningococcal C strain. They used new conjugate vaccines for meningococcal C that had been developed by the late 1990s. Madam Speaker, this vaccine stayed on the government-funded immunization schedule for 12 months, for all 12-month babies until 2018. Invasive meningococcal disease used to be very rare in Fiji. Prior to 2015, the annual incidence was constantly below 1 per 100,000, with a mean of 0.5 per 100,000 population. This is between 0 to 10 cases annually. From the fourth quarter of 2016, Madam Speaker, to date, there has been a significant increase in reported cases of meningococcal disease, with 29 cases in 2017. Our national incidence of meningococcal disease was 5.9 per 100,000, and there were a total of 7 deaths reported. The 2017 case, Madam Speaker, included an institutional outbreak at St. John's College in Dawadi. 7 cases were reported from January to June 2017, and up to 2 students getting sick within a month of the outbreak that was caused by the serogroup C strain. Interventions by the Ministry of Health through visits to the St. John's College by the Subdivisional Outbreak Response Team included inspection of dormitories, water, sanitation and hygiene facilities, information and education sessions, and the provision of wash facilities including hand gels, soap and disinfectants. Preventative antibiotic was also given to all students, and in July, all students at St. John's College were vaccinated. There were no cases from the school after vaccination, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I'd like to clarify on a point here that we don't declare outbreaks overnight. Normally, as we have to study the disease pattern over a period of time, and then in 2017, we had declared a localized outbreak at St. John's College. That was contained by the health team as soon as diagnosis test was done. Results were confirmed, the students were vaccinated, and to date, as I've said, we've had no new cases from St. John's College. And while we have been carrying out the necessary interventions, Madam Speaker, we have also been raising awareness and advising people that this disease is treatable and preventable, and that there is antibiotics which are available for free at the hospitals at the early stages. And that is still ongoing, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the term meningococcal refers to any illness caused by this bacteria, Neisseria. The illness caused by this bacterium causes the most devastating effects, which are known as invasive meningococcal disease. And they include, 1, meningitis, that is the infection and inflammation of the lining of the brain and the spinal cord. Madam Speaker, then we have septicemia, that is the infection of the blood or blood poisoning. These are both severe diseases with high fatality rate. The World Health Organization reports that meningococcal meningitis is fatal in up to 50% of people, particularly if they don't receive treatment, and the rate is higher for septicemia. Madam Speaker, and even with treatment, the death rate is still 8% to 15%. And people who are more at risk of getting the disease include those that live in the same household or are intimate partners. Madam Speaker, anyone can get meningococcal disease. However, most cases are seen in babies, children under the age of 5, teenagers and young adults. While we do know the risk group, Madam Speaker, it is also important to understand how this disease is spread from person to person. There are 13 serogroups of this bacteria, Neisseria, and 6 of these are associated with diseases in humans. This bacteria only lives in humans and are found from time to time in 5 to 20% of the general population, where the natural habitat, Madam Speaker, the natural habitat of this bacteria is the back of our nose and throat. So we all carry that. And this bacteria is passed from person to person through direct contact with respiratory secretions, saliva or spit. And this often happens with deep kissing on the mouth between infected people or intimate partners. But there is also an elevated risk with social activities involving the sharing of cups, water bottles, coughing, or sneezing directly on another person by an infected person. Madam Speaker, for the vast majority of people, having the bacteria at the back of the noses or mouth causes no problems. And most of the time we are not even aware it's there. This disease occurs when the bacteria breaches the layers of the nasopharynx and moves into the bloodstream, as well as passes the barrier that separates the brain from the blood of an infected person. The bacteria then enters the bloodstream with the infection itself. The risk of this happening, Madam Speaker, is higher in those specific chronic illnesses that affect our immune system, smokers and those with frequent upper respiratory tract infection. Madam Speaker, on March 20th, 2018, the Ministry of Health and Medical Services declared a national outbreak of meningococcal C. This was after a review of the evidences and recommendations by our group of experts on the National Meningococcal Task Force. There have been 46 cases from January 1st to April 12th, 2018. Of these, 22 cases are laboratory confirmed and 24 are either suspected or probable cases with similar symptoms but not diagnosed by the laboratory. The Central Division, Madam Speaker, reported 27 cases, followed by Western Division of 16 cases, Eastern Division 1 case and Northern 2 cases. There have been 4 confirmed meningococcal disease-related deaths and 2 suspected from January 1st to April 12th, 2018, unfortunately. As of April 12th, all cases were in the age groups of below 19. Of these, males accounted 63%, while females accounted for 37%, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the Ministry, upon recommendations of the National Task Force, has a 4-component strategy to combating any outbreak. Enhanced surveillance and early case detection, national surveillance coordinated by the Fiji Center for Communicable Diseases Control, risk communication plans and implementation to ensure the general public is aware of the outbreak, focusing on early recognition of symptoms and early presentation to the health facility. Awareness for clinicians through distribution and training on new guidelines for the public health management of the disease. Madam Speaker, in terms of early treatment, the action taken is 1, review and national training for clinicians and outbreak response teams on this, in this case, the meningococcal disease guidelines, and providing antibiotics specifically for the treatment of the disease to all health subdivisions. In terms of contact tracing, Madam Speaker, the team conducts active case investigation and training and tracing of close contacts of cases by outbreak response teams in the respective divisions and subdivisions. In terms of prevention strategies, Madam Speaker, the Ministry has been communicating to the public on the need for basic hygiene measures needed to prevent the transmission of this bacteria. Of course, we've been working to strengthen infection prevention control among our own healthcare workers and the planning and implementation of a targeted vaccination program, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, the response to this outbreak has been done with wide consultations with local and international experts and follows international best practices in control for the outbreak. Madam Speaker, the current case numbers of 2018 includes a cluster of cases reported from Navesao Adventist High School, a boarding school in the province of Ra in the Western Division. The first case was reported on February 28th, and so far there has been 10 cases as of April 12th, with the latest case reported on April 9th. Since the report of the first case at Navesao Adventist School, Madam Speaker, the Nayavu Health Centre team, the Talevu Subdivisional team and the Central Division team have made daily school visits where the following public health responses were undertaken. Discussions with the school management on strategies for early detection, control and prevention of the disease in the school. We conducted health awareness and education for students, parents and teachers. We administered preventative antibiotics to all students and teachers, inspected and assessed the school facilities and infrastructure. A vaccine campaign was conducted on April 5th to April 6th for all Navesao Adventist students using vaccines procured by the ministry. Students were vaccinated with Menatra conjugated quadrivalent vaccine that has the capacity to address 4 different strains of MenC. This includes ACYW135. Madam Speaker, in terms of transparency of the vaccination program, the ministry always seeks the endorsement or approval of parents as consenting to vaccination program for the children. This consent, Madam Speaker, is given when parents understand the benefit and the value of the vaccine against the risks and cost of the burden of the disease. The 4 different strains, Madam Speaker, covered in the Menatra vaccine is a booster or extra protection against the other positive agents causing meningococcal diseases. Of course, in this case, the predominant type was strain C. The Menatra vaccine ensures protection against the disease for 2 to 3 years, and at the same time, public health measures will continue to strengthen other measures in place. Madam Speaker, we are working very closely with the World Health Organization and UNICEF to ensure effective implementation of the vaccination program that would allow 333,876 children aged between 1 to 19 years being vaccinated as a strategic form of preventative measures against MenC. And of course, somebody asked the question, these vaccinations will be procured by the ministry and the government and provided for free to all between 1 to 19 years old. That's the first phase. Now the question is, why 1 to 19 years old, Madam Speaker? According to our current situation in Fiji as of March 21st this year, all cases were less than 19 years of age group, with 41% of cases less than 5 years old, 21 between 5 to 9 years old, and 24 between 10 to 14 years old, and 15% age 15 to 19. So that's our targeted group for the time being. Madam Speaker, these are the age group being heavily affected by this disease. Madam Speaker, if I may state, the vaccine is safe and effective and is recommended by WHO, and this is the same vaccine that we gave to our students at St. John's College last year. Madam Speaker, the vaccination for specific health staff is also being considered. Otherwise, personal protective equipment and infection prevention control is used by all our staff when dealing with these cases. Madam Speaker, if I could just inform the House about how we plan to conduct this vaccination. Like I said, the total number of people or children to be vaccinated in this MES vaccine is close to 333,876 between 12 months to 19. However, this vaccination campaign will be initially targeted at all medical subdivisionals in the Central Division, the Western Division, then the Northern Division according to our MEP classification. Madam Speaker, the vaccination campaign will commence as soon as the vaccine arrives and will continue for 6 weeks. Due to the maritime travel challenges, we have added an extra 1 week to conduct this drive in the maritime areas, because we believe we will encounter some challenges taking the vaccine down to the maritime areas because of the cold chain storage issues. The service will also be available on Saturdays, Madam Speaker, and this is to help busy parents and caretakers to bring their children for this vaccination during the week break. Considering the disease burden observation, high-risk group and operational effectiveness, the campaign will roll out. Campaign rollout will start with intensive efforts in the Central Division first. Moreover, medical teams will be mobilized in all divisions to cover the whole targeted population as mentioned. Particular attention, Madam Speaker, will be given to schools. since there has been cases observed in boarding schools. Temporary fixed outreach immunization post will cover almost all our schools. If I can look at the mode or the method of delivery, Madam Speaker, we have permanent fixed immunization posts, and this is the services that will be provided by all our permanent health facilities and community health posts for the whole day of the duration of the campaign. These sites will also serve as depots for storage and distribution of the vaccine to temporary fixed sites and mobile tents. Then we have the temporary to fixed outreach mobile immunization posts. This will be the schools, etc., villages and settlements with small population may also be served through these temporary sites. Immunization will be provided at these sites for either the duration of the campaign or particularly depending on the population density. And of course we'll have mobile immunization posts which will move from community to community, reaching populations that are living in hard to reach areas which may not have access to fixed sites or maybe too small in size to justify. So we plan to have 53 teams, Madam Speaker, including 8 people per team who will be mobilized around the country as temporary, fixed and mobile post service providers, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, so all in all, we will continue to work with our experts, we will continue to work with our partners at WHO and UNICEF to ensure that we are able to procure. As mentioned yesterday, the government has already endorsed, cabinet decision has already been endorsed to purchase this vaccination for our children. And again, if I may assure the House, these vaccinations will come to our children between 1 to 19, and this will of course be free of charge. Nobody will have to pay that. This is part of the government's immunization program. Madam Speaker, I was pretty dismayed and disappointed with some media articles and other posts, especially if I can mention the releases from the National Federation Party side where it said ministry officials and minister was sleeping on the job. There's this obsessed with the word sleeping, I don't know for what. Unfortunately, Madam Speaker, the team on the ground has been very active, and this started from last year, and I've explained to the reason why the outbreak was not declared. This is to avoid fear and panic, and I think it's the fear and the panic that made a lot of people to actually go and buy this vaccine from the pharmacies, which were quite expensive. So again, I appeal to the House and of course appeal to the media as well. In cases like this, we need to respond very responsibly. We need to be very sensitive to situations like this, because I believe after all, we have the interest of our people at heart. So Madam Speaker, I thank you for giving me time for this.